This is Hoverman Cop, the world's top cop with news insight. August the 24th, 2019, almost a year ago. You have heard, if you haven't, you're hearing it now like never before, of Elijah McClain, 23 years old, innocent, never committed a crime, has anemia, so he wears a black mask to cover his face due to anemia. He walks to the store that evening, purchase items from the store like anyone else. While in the store, it was normal, no threat, and if it was, while in the store, anyone in that store, including the person working behind the register, would have contacted the police indicating that Elijah committed a crime or was in the process of committing a crime with a black mask covering his face. But you did not hear that, nor did a call come in to the dispatchers of 911 of Elijah being a threat or danger to other citizens in that area or in that store. And after he purchases his items, he walks home. While walking home, a citizen observes Elijah as well. And this concerned citizen calls 911. And when he calls 911, he indicated not trained, not a police officer, no training in law enforcement, no criminal justice career, no special investigator. He indicates to that dispatcher a critical word, and the conversation itself was critical, that Elijah did not commit a crime, was no threat, had no weapons. He just called in to indicate that it was strange that Elijah had a mask covering his face while walking. No problem. The dispatcher dispatches officers in that area. Now, when the dispatcher called to notify officers to respond in that area, the question is, did they respond with a code 1? A high priority call to immediately come to the scene? No. Since it was not a code 1, since there was no crime committed, since there was no crime being committed before or after the fact that the 911 caller had dispatched that 911 personnel over the phone, was it a code 2? To hurry up and get there, but not fast enough for sirens and to run red lights? No, it was not. The call was just suspicious behavior of a person, a male, wearing a black mask. That was it. Now, I want you to hear for yourself what this 911 caller said. And after you hear it, I will return.
911, what is the address of the emergency?
So there's a guy, he's walking the opposite of north.
South?
South, yeah, he's walking south on Billing Street. He has a mask on.
Okay.
And then when I passed by him, he puts his hands up and does all these kinds of signs. I don't know, he looks sketchy, right? He might be a good person or a bad person.
Yeah.
They all have masks on.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to put a call in so officers can go see what's going on, okay? Are you still at that location now?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Were any weapons involved or mentioned?
No.
Okay, I already have a call in, okay? I need to get his full description. What race is he?
I think he's a black male.
Okay. How old does he look? I know he's wearing a mask.
I have no clue.
Okay. What color is the mask, or what does it look like?
Black.
Black mask?
He's like a gas station on Billing Street on Fairfax now.
Okay. Is it like a ski mask, or what type of mask is it?
Yeah, like a ski mask.
Okay. So are you or anyone else in danger right now?
Yeah.
Now, as you can see, the caller was not alarmed, not threatened, not in fear of his life, did not see a crime committed, no robbery, no weapons of any sort. Just the only abnormal thing to him was Elijah was wearing a black mask. Now, when these officers who are trained, certified to have the gun and the badge, locates Elijah walking with the bag that he purchased with the items inside of it from that store, and a trained officer in their right mind, like me, I would have, knowing that it was no crime committed, nothing in the process of a crime, I would have seen Elijah, observed Elijah, and watched his body language and what he had in his hand and how he would have responded to my presence. These police officers knew, dealing with criminals, that if Elijah had committed a crime, was in the process of committing a crime because he had a mask over his face, seeing three officers, a suspect, a criminal, would have ran from those officers on foot. It's called fleeing on foot. And we would have had a fleeing suspect on foot. But that didn't happen. Elijah, not being a criminal, the question is, what crime did Elijah commit for those officers to respond the way they did that ended in Elijah McClain's death? Now watch this video thoroughly and you should be able to determine, did those officers legally stop, detained, held Elijah legally? Did they have the right to do that? Because if they did, what crime did Elijah commit for their actions that they done on that evening to now have us where we are now? Watch and I will return.
On the night of August 24th, 2019, Elijah went to a convenience store. You can see him in the store surveillance video wearing a ski mask, something his family says that he did because he had anemia, a blood condition that can make the person become cold easily. What McClain didn't know was that someone called 911 to report a suspicious person. As Elijah walked home, he was stopped by 3 Aurora police officers.
Your favor, stop right there.
Nathan Woodyard, Jason Rosenblatt, and Randy Redema.
Stop. 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 I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
The officers immediately grab Elijah.
No, I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries that I am speaking. Relax. Stop. Leave me alone.
No, we're gonna talk to you.
You guys started to rush me, and I was stopping my music to listen. Now let go of me.
Within moments, 2 of the officers' body cameras fall off. The third camera captures a bit more of the struggle before it ends up in the grass. Civil rights attorney Mari Newman represents the McClain family.
There was absolutely no reason legally why the officers should have stopped him in the first place. They grabbed him, they tackled him, and they threw him to the ground.
Just 2 minutes into the video, you hear Elijah say 3 fateful words, words that have now become a national rallying cry.
Relax, just relax. Relax.
Now, I can tell you from the jump start, these officers observed Elijah, approached Elijah, and what they should have done, like any normal officer, they didn't have any probable cause to stop him, no probable cause to detain him, no reason at all to put their hands on Elijah, for no crime was committed by Elijah. All they had was to encounter him and talk to him. As a police officer, you see someone, just because they had a mask over their face, is not justifiable cause to hold a person against their will. I would have arrived to the scene, would have introduced myself to Elijah, and would have asked one important question that could have given an indicator something was wrong with him. I would have said, "Sir, how are you? Is everything okay? We got a phone call by 911 that something might have been wrong with you, and we wanted to check and see if everything's okay." That is the proper way to deal with a non-threatening citizen who have not committed a crime. That is the way a police officer conducts themselves to a citizen. And after I would have done that, I would have waited for his response. Now, his response could have been nothing, and my response in return would have been nothing, because I had nothing. These officers had nothing but a conversation to give towards Elijah. Elijah, did he have the right to stop? Did he have the right to talk? Did he have the right to pay attention? Did he have a right to pay attention to those officers? Did he have the right to ignore them? Elijah had the right not to stop. Elijah had the right not to talk to these officers. Why? Because no crime was committed. Elijah was just walking and just had a ski mask over his face. Elijah could have ignored them and walked right past them, but those officers denied him his legal right to not even talk, but to move on legally as a citizen in this country we call America. And they held him against his will, put their hands on him, grabbed Elijah, slammed Elijah up against something, and then threw him down on the ground. And in the process of grabbing Elijah, probably approximately 130 pounds, and you're looking at one officer on that scene, 200 and plus pounds. Two officers, approximately over 400 and something pounds, tussles, throws him on the ground, and in the tussle, from standing up down to the ground, in the midst of that, one of the officers states that Elijah was grabbing for the other officer's gun. Now, tell me this. If that officer who said Elijah was grabbing for that officer's gun, as close as they were, do you not think Elijah would have grabbed that weapon? They was close enough. And because Elijah, with his body weight, and they grabbing him and slinging him, his arms and body is going to move in different directions that was against his will. So it would have been normal for his body and his hands, his arm, to move across the officer's weapons or any part of their body, because they grabbed a hold of Elijah. And they used that officer used that moment, elevated the situation, and accused Elijah for saying that he was going for the officer's weapon. And if that would have been the case, even him saying it wasn't believable. And after the fact, if that was the case, any officer would have used the next level of force, which would have been that taser. Then if he was grabbing for that weapon, why wasn't a taser used against Elijah? Because clearly they struggled, tussled with Elijah against his will on the ground. 3 officers there, and by the way, the 3rd officer was just standing there, because I tell you this, that officer who was standing there watching was just confused and wondering, what in the world are these officers doing to that innocent, harmless citizen who was 130 or such pounds, walking, minding his business, is now on the ground being choked. And Elijah, who committed no crime, was breathing and begging, vomiting, and in the midst of Elijah breathing, vomiting, having a plea with these officers for his life, to indicate that he did not even would harm a fly, told these officers that he was sorry for anything that he caused. And in the midst of him saying that he was sorry, that he could not even hurt a fly, never committed a crime, these officers pressed on the body of Elijah on the ground, 400 and something pounds, choked him, pressed down on him. Elijah couldn't breathe, vomiting, pleading for his life. They didn't even have the humanity in them to pick Elijah up after they put handcuffs on him to lift him off the ground, that he may breathe properly. Remove him from his own vomit. Treat him with dignity, because he committed no crime and they denied him the right to live. Doped him with ketamine. Initiated the conversation to give him a drug. He was not on drugs. He was not overdosed. And they injected him even after he couldn't breathe, begging for his life. Elijah dies. And after all of that, the supervisor and all the other officers who arrived at that scene could not even tell those officers to get off of him. Pick that suspect that they considered for being suspicious when he wasn't a suspect. He committed no crime. Didn't have the decency to pick him up and even put him in the back of the patrol car, that he may be able to have fresh air from the air conditioner in that car and wait for paramedics to arrive. He suffered for days and he died. I have an arrest warrant for all of you, even the ones, the district attorney, the previous chief, have allowed these officers to keep their job for this long to this point. I have a weapon of the Word of God and a warrant for you all the rest. You will be judged from God. You may get away with it, you think now, for your evil ways, but your judgment days are coming. He had no right to die. He had the right to live, and he was denied that right. But we cannot deny him the right to live within our hearts. We must beat and breathe. Our hearts must beat. Our breath that we take must be for Elijah and so many others who have perished at the hands of corrupt officers, and ensure that justice for Elijah McClain and so many others will be so with our last breath. May each and every one of you live with justice and peace.